What's up, guys? Welcome to JR Strength and Fitness. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down another reaction video brought to you by Men's Health. This is going to be Patrick Mahomes workout, his Super Bowl workout, and we're essentially going to see what his entire training is like from his trainer, from his strength coach.
You can say hello, but I don't need you to like.
I'm already really excited about this because this is my wheelhouse. This is what I specialize in. I'm, for the most part, a strength conditioning coach. Athletic and sports performance is where I kind of focus on. So a lot of the general fitness stuff, whether that is bodybuilding, just general strength training, yeah, I love that too. But for the most part, the applied muscle physiology that is in strength and conditioning, sports performance I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm super excited about this workout. Again, full disclaimer, while I am an exercise professional, this is just for educational entertainment purposes only, and this is not necessarily for exercise prescription. So everything that I say or do, you should probably go see a actual exercise professional in person and or a physician before getting into any sort of these suggestions or recommendations. So with that being said, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. We got more things coming along the way, but for the most part, we got Patrick Mahomes now. All right, guys, let's get it.
I'm Bobby Stroop. I'm a registered strength conditioning coach and also a fellow of applied functional science. Oh, and I've trained Patrick Mahomes since the 4th grade. Let's get into some of the stuff we like to do to get ready for the season.
All right, before we get into the actual workouts, this guy, his strength coach, is legit. Those credentials are legit. Anytime you are a fellow of any sort of exercise or any sort of strength-related organization, that means you have put in the time and the contribution for the industry. So, yeah, and a, registered strength conditioning coach, yeah, dude's legit. Obviously, these people aren't just your normal personal trainer that's just training at some sort of 24-hour fitness or any sort of private facility. This is a legit recognized strength conditioning coach. And obviously it makes sense. Dude's an NFL player.
Patrick's training goals are simple. Win the Super Bowl. So in order to do that, priority number 1 is to be resilient. He's got to stay healthy. Today we're going to talk about 3D power implementation with med balls. We're going to talk about track work, and we're going to talk about strength training for Patrick Mahomes.
Before we get into the actual workouts, so the first part, creating resilience so you can actually continue playing, yeah, that is for the most part the most important aspect of strength conditioning. That is what the field is designed for. Like, sure, we make people bigger, stronger, and faster, but we need to make people more resilient and less injury prone, because obviously it doesn't matter how strong or fast you are. If you can't play because you are injured, then it doesn't really matter at that point. Yes, that is exactly how I treat all my other athletes. We have a injury prevention priority first and then performance second. And then as far as the med ball training goes, yeah, it is literally perhaps one of the greatest ways to produce, actual functional power. And it's easy to coach too, versus like Olympic lifting, which we do a little bit of that for my athletes, but for the most part, every single athlete will do some sort of med ball throw variation.
Medicine ball training is so important to Patrick's regimen because he likes to produce power from multiple different angles in the way that he plays the position of quarterback. So for us, implementing med ball throws and med ball rotational passes and shot puts from multiple planes of motion, number 1, and implementations, number 2, is very important. Sit up med ball throw. What this helps Patrick do is understand how to use his body from the waist up in order to execute overhead throwing power. You hinge from your hips, lift your upper body off the ground first, and finish and follow through all the way through. When you finish and throw the ball, your hands should almost go past your toes, like a hamstring stretch. And obviously you want to hit the wall as hard as you can. Med ball granny toss. What this helps Patrick do is learn to get extension from his hips. So a lot of times we'll cue him to throw his hips through his head. This is going to help give him flexibility in his spine and the sagittal plane and learn not to over-rely on his upper body to produce power. Med ball, shot put throw. What this helps Patrick do is learn to draw power from his spine and translate that power into an upper body finish. So when he sets up, he's going to be laterally facing the wall with his elbow high in the back, and then I cue him to rotate his heel high and then finish with his elbow all the way through the ball. And obviously you want to hit the ball against the wall as hard as you can. Partner pass, rainbow, med ball slam. What this helps is frontal plane power. So for him to be able to catch the ball, reverse the direction of the ball, and slam it down by his foot works on that frontal plane power. Now this has a lot to do with linking your obliques to your lats and learning how to finish and hinge through your hips in the frontal plane.
I don't know what to say. Like, I mean, this is just amazing. Like, one thing I noticed too, all of those med ball exercises that they did, they utilized different planes of movement. And the main thing I noticed and what I wanted to point out, many people probably did not notice, but the sets and reps were relatively low. It is low volume. Like, you saw like 3 sets of 3 med ball throws. And that's what we want to see. If you have like 15 to 20 med ball throws, like, how much quality are those latter portion of the med ball throws going to be? The first like 5 are going to be like phenomenal because we want high power output. We want that kind of explosiveness, and that'll start to teeter down the more reps we do. So it's not metabolic training. We're not trying to do it to create endurance. We're doing it to create power. So sets and reps are supposed to be low, like they were shown, and that's how I always do med ball throws. So other than that, like, the exercise selection was just freaking spot on. I've done some of those with my athletes. The beauty about the med ball throws is that there is so much variation that you can do quite literally an unlimited way of med ball throws because there's so much different movements, so much different utilizations of the throws. So I already love it, and we haven't even got to the strength part yet.
Track work, sprinting, running drills are incredibly important for any type of thrower or quarterback for a couple reasons. Number one, it primes what we call the spinal engine. So everything from your belly button to your neck, it makes work in an athletic way that you can't get from the weight room. Number two, it helps with scapular range of motion and upper body speed development. And number three, it helps with range of motion, flexibility and mobility in the shoulder girdle. Single leg broad jump. This helps Patrick learn how to decelerate in the open field. If you're sprinting, a lot of times you go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1 to redirect or change pace in a game. So this is about deceleration properties and also the ability to explode off of one leg. Hurdle bounds help Patrick understand coordination and timing with his body in space and his feet underneath his body while moving through space. This is also going to help with lower body power and amplitude every time your foot touches the ground. If you're going to do this drill, I would recommend supersetting with full speed sprints.
Before we get into this sled work, because I know that's going to be a pretty in-depth aspect of this, but track work, yeah. So every athlete should do some sort of either sprint work, either plyometric work. So they had the hurdle bounds, they had obviously all of the broad jumps and those kind of things. So yeah, those things are like, I like to think of it, you could think of it like this. It's the most simplified way of putting it. It is the applied strength training. So obviously strength training is building up that muscle, building up the force production of those muscles, but the translation that occurs in the field, occurs on the court, is going to come from these type of workouts. The broad jumps of the world, the hurdle bounds, the jumps, the agility work, those kind of things is where it gets really applied. So for the most part, some variation is what we do.
Sled push. We utilize a sled push for Patrick for foot mobility, flexibility, and stability. Also, learning horizontal power and strength and making sure that he can finish and hit big lines as he sprints and also finishes through his hips. The backward sled pull is used for posterior chain reinforcement, also teaching the body how to pull through different transformational zones. For instance, teaching the hamstring how to extend the knee when you're moving backwards, and also keeping the back stable while you're moving with resistance going backwards. Patrick uses the lateral sled drag for frontal plane strength and also teaching the foot how to roll through lateral movements and have strength and stability all the way up the kinetic chain. The other thing that it does is allows recruitment on one side of the body for stability while you're moving and coordinating through different strength positions with the lower body. Get-up sprints help Patrick learn how to get out of difficult positions and rise up to a position that he can sprint and perform in. They also help with big toe flexibility, mobility, stability, and flexibility of the ankle, and also teaching him how to propel his upper body and spinal engine to run fast. Cone speed drill. The cone speed drill is for balance and coordination and agility concepts. Can you coordinate grabbing the cone and putting it back and also hit good angles with your shins? Move fast.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they had the sled work in there first. So same kind of concept. This is like the applied strength training. Obviously, like for example, he was moving laterally with that heavy sled. Frontal plane is like a huge aspect, especially probably in his sport if he's in the pocket and he's trying to, get out quickly while still having that vision down the field. So obviously movements that are utilized have to mimic what he's doing on the field. So it makes sense, everything that they are incorporating. So this isn't just random exercises for the sake of exercise. This is like legit training. So for the most part, the sled work is perhaps one of the best ways, in my humble opinion, to condition athletes as well, because it's not as much impact. It's not a lot of time, and it's still having that applied strength training involved. So I love sled training. Perhaps one of my go-to things as far as literally any athlete is running, sprinting, soccer, football, whatever it is. And then the get-up sprints. So I do that with a few of my athletes. Now, the aspect that I love about that exercise is that it forces you to start low. And when you are low, that is where acceleration gets maximized. You won't reach that tall position when you're sprinting until you have reached your peak speed. You have to get low, accelerate. So that is a very good exercise for acceleration or learning to accelerate. And for the most part, the cone drills, I actually love those variations. I might actually do them myself because we do a lot of different variations of that. There's so many different ways you can structure cones. You can change directions. You can make it fun at the same time, maybe a reactional aspect. There's so many things you can do that it's unlimited. It is literally unlimited. It's where the art of coaching comes in. You can create something that meets the demands of the athlete or the client, and that's what I love about it.
Weight room exercises are important because they help us with the concept of resiliency. The stronger an athlete is, the more they conduct.
Ooh, pause that real quick. So it says, Mahomes keeps his reps low. This is not about muscle burn. It is about quality of movement.
Power, and the more they can conduct speed. So it gives us greater opportunity to work those things without high risk. Elevated split squat. Patrick uses elevated split squat to work strength at an end range of motion. In this position, you need to work slow and have isometric holds for up to 5 seconds at the end range of motion. We use the 3-position isometric pull-up to make sure Patrick has stability in 3 different positions in a vertical pull. This is important because at every single position you have different muscle recruitment patterns and different stress on your soft tissues. Overcoming isometric trap bar deadlift is to make sure that we maximally recruit all the muscle fibers in the body, but also it's about stability of the lumbar spine.
Okay, first 3 first. So they are obviously focusing on quality of the movement, aka having those kind of controlled eccentrics, those isometrics, and of course the explosive concentric aspect of it, while keeping the reps low. So this is definitely what you would do in the in-season, for example, or even at any sort of peak areas where we're trying to, almost give the body a little bit of a break. So volume is where we have like kind of a high rep range or high weight, high sets, whatever it is. And I'm assuming that they're not in that phase because the reps are low, and therefore they're able to focus on the quality of the movements and, like they said, increasing resilience. So yes, the time under tension is going to do that phenomenally well. So that's where that makes sense. The isometric trap bar is, I think, a brilliant exercise. For people to learn how to actually create tension, full body tension in the movement. And then, of course, obviously, the other exercise as well, the pull-ups, like, yeah, this is just a general go-to when it comes to upper body strength. So this is exactly what a strength conditioning coach does.
Cable push-pull. The cable push-pull is about rotational power, and it's about relative rotation in the spine. Pull as hard as you can as you rotate and punch through. Patrick uses the hip thrust to make sure that his hamstrings and his glutes work together effectively for hip extension. I recommend 3 sets of 5 with a 5-second isometric hold at the top. So that's a peek into how Patrick Mahomes gets ready for Sundays. And remember, it's not about training to be the next Patrick Mahomes. Focus on yourself. Be the best you.
Okay, those final 2 exercises are also utilized for his sport. Obviously, the rotational power, that is obviously for the throwing. The single leg hip thrust, that is obviously for any sort of dynamic movement in the, running, moving, jumping, all of that. So for the most part, this is exactly what strength conditioning is. This is exactly why I fell in love with the field. This is exactly why this is my favorite thing to do, because the training is deliberate. The exercise selection is deliberate. Everything has a purpose. Nothing is wasted, ever. It is all structured for one specific goal. More resilient, make him better, stronger, faster, all of those things. But the main thing I want to point out in the whole entire video is the resilience to injury. The low volume, the controlled reps, the controlled movement, that is exactly how you build resilient athletes. That's how you build long enduring athletes. You don't just throw them a bunch of things at them and do we're going to do 5 sets of 10. We're going to do, let's run for 30 minutes just for the sake of it. Let's do a bunch of burpees. No, we don't do that at all. My athletes, even the adults, don't do burpees just for the sake of burpees. No, every exercise we do is deliberate. And that is what I love about this entire workout. I'm honestly in awe right now. I'm just so, wow. So I really have nothing else to say. I thought that was freaking phenomenal. That was perhaps my favorite reaction videos so far, and I am actually going to look forward to a little bit more of the sports performance because this was just amazing. Alright guys, so again, please like and subscribe, let your friends know about me, and then until next time.
You can say